once again to Ed's Orchids. Now today, and I haven't done it for a little while, is have a look at some slippers. The one you see in front of you is a fairrieanum that needs to come out of this pot now and to be put into this pot, which I'll do later. I'll just talk a little bit about this fairrieanum. Well, what can I say? Well, these are supposed to be one of the easiest paphiopedilums to grow, and they're supposed to be very easy to flower. And if you can get them growing well, they'll produce many growths per year and soon become a specimen plant. Well, that's what they say, but I've never ever seen a specimen plant of fairrieanum. What else? And I think many more growers have found them just as difficult as I have to keep. This one is doing okay, but when I repot it, I don't know how it's going to do. It looks like it's in some, I don't know, I did a video on these earlier, you know, to say I'd bought them from Germany at a very good price. They were only about 13 euros each, something like that, 12.5, and they were very good. When you're repotting these, the potting mix should have bark, a little bit of chopped up moss. I've got some grow stones, and there is some perlite here, and there's one or two little limestone chippings. I put limestone chippings in because they grow near limestone in the wild, and I don't want them to be deprived of calcium to any extent. As regards watering, during their growing season they should never be allowed to dry out, you know, because they live in monsoon areas, and keep them wet during the growing season, and in the winter time let them dry out for a couple of months or so, say December, January, November, December, any time like that, and but keep the humidity very high with plenty of air movement, which they do like. To say that they're easy growers, I wonder why we don't see many of these on the show benches. I mean, the only ones I have ever seen on a show bench are the ones I've displayed myself. But these are very, very beautiful blooms, and if you've never seen them, just put it on the web, paphiopedilum fairrieanum, and just have a look at the flowers. They look very, very Victorian. Right, we're going to repot this one. I don't know what the roots are like on this one. I've never taken it out, so we'll just have a quick look. Keep my fingers crossed. I'm expecting them to be not very good, which I always expect, but we'll see. Well, at least all the stuff's come out with them, and the roots look very good. And I'm not bothered if a little bit of this stuff gets mixed up in the new bark. But is it 2 plants this, or is it 1? I have no idea. Let's get as much of this off as we can. It is 2 plants. So I sent for 4, so I've got 6 plants of these now. Oh. Now do I plant them singly, or do I plant them together? I don't know. I'm putting them from that size of pot into that size. So yeah, I think they should be potted singly. So we'll just put that on one side for the moment. It doesn't matter if they're dry because it's that time of year. And we'll put some bark in the new pot. Very, very good roots those for fairrieanum, and they're dry, which is right for this time of year again. You see the moss, the perlite there now. Well, the only success I've had these was when I've grown them and they've flowered, but after flowering they've always died off. So we'll see what happens to these. Mind you, we've got to get them flowering first, haven't we? Right, just plant the crown slightly under the medium. Choose a few little bits to go around it. And there we are, we'll say that's one. I think there's enough for another one there. If I can find the other one. Here's another one that's been kept in moss when I got it because the roots weren't very good. So let's have a look at it now. And this is dry as a bone. Yeah, it's got some nice roots. One or two that want nipping off. And it feels quite damp here for some reason. But nice new growths on it. Some lovely new growths. You know, there's a load of wood lice coming out of this moss now. Good job they don't affect the plants. They only eat rotten wood. Right, I'm very pleased with these up to now. You see the nice roots on that one. Nice growing tips. So we'll get another largest pot and put that in. There we are. Well, I'll need to do some more potting mix to fill this one up, so we'll end that one here and we'll go on to the next plant. And whereas the other plant I unpotted, there were two plants in, this has got two growths, but it's all from the same rootstock. There's not two plants there. The leaf yellowing a little bit here, but I think I'll just pull it off gently. That's right, now that looks a lot better. So that needs potting up as well. Some more medium, some of this light medium with a bit of moss in it, a bit of chopped up moss. So put a bit in there. Now this is the one that's just one plant, so we'll do that one. I'm just trying this out for the first time, just putting some of the compost that it was grown in. I mixed it in with this this compost I've just made up. So let's see what that does. Might be a good idea, might not, we'll just find out. Let's get the plant centralised. Make sure it's nice and firm. Yep. And that's another one. I've got two labels here that you can't see, so I'll just put them in. And then we also had the single plant from the first one, so we'll just pop that up. And then we'll say that's the last one we'll do with the fairrieanums before I go on to something else. It's surprising how long it takes to do these videos. You do quite a number of small shots of what you want, and then you've got to go inside and edit them all, cut out what you don't want. You know, it can take a few hours, but and then you put a video on, and people watch it for 2 or 3 minutes, and it might have taken you 3 or 4 hours to make. There we are. Well, I'm not watering these yet. I'm just going to give them another week or so, dryness, and then we'll start watering again. So that's that for fairrieanums. I'll put that on one side, it might come in handy for the next ones. Well, there's the fairrieanums finished, so as I said, I'm not watering them yet, so I'll just put them on one side, and we'll have a look at the next plant. Well, the next plant is this Paphiopedilum perishii, which is another beautiful Paphiopedilum when they get big, and these get really big. And for those who can't provide a good light, these are ideal for low light situations. They do become large, and the blooms become very spectacular. You know, they produce 6 or 7 flowers at regular intervals along an arching spike. Like most Paphiopedilums, they need high humidity the year round, and this species can be kept dry for a couple of months in winter. And you know, I found that most Paphiopedilums you can keep them dry for a time, and yet you get told, you know, if you keep them dry, the roots die. But I've never found that. I mean, like I just did the last Paphiopedilums, they haven't been watered since I bought them, which must be 6 or 7 weeks ago. You know, at least 6 or 7 weeks ago. They've never been watered, and yet the roots are absolutely perfect. And as far as temperatures go, these are like all the Paphiopedilums. An intermediate temperature will do them fine. But this is one worth getting if you can get all of them. Paphiopedilum perishii. Just look that up on the web. Right, this one is another of my favourite Paphiopedilums. Paphiopedilum Prince Edward of York. Cross between the king and the queen of Paphiopedilums, which is Sandrianum and Rothschildianum. You can see this one where it's flowered from before, and then this is the new growth it's put up. So I'm hoping that's going to flower at the back end of this year. Take the label out. The roots, I don't know whether you can see them or not, but they're absolutely lovely. You can see them growing in the pot there. And the way I keep this is like I keep most of the paphiopedilums. You know, high humidity, plenty of air movement and intermediate temperatures. Fairrieanum and Rothschildianum, which this is composed of, both come from Borneo. And they both grow around sorts of limestone rocks and in debris that's fallen from the trees, leaf mosses and stuff like that. And to my mind it should be grown like all the other paphiopedilums in a light mix, which I've just done for the fairrieanums. You know, so the water passes straight through the medium. In these little pots it leaves a little bit of water at the bottom which they use up occasionally. This species, like all others, require high humidity and a strong light. There's not much more I can say about that, but the Rothschildianum species grows in exactly the same way, and I do believe that, getting my mind backwards somewhere, that also where they grow there's a lot of magnesium in the compost. Now I don't know where I've got that from, but there's something in the back of my mind saying that. Anyhow, that's Prince Edward of York, an absolutely gorgeous flower. Well, I know I've gone on a bit about the fairrieanums, but they are one of my favourite paths, so I can't resist doing as much as I can on those. And there's only other piece of advice I can give you, which are fairrieanums. These I've just bought have taught me that if you buy a new plant, don't repot it straight away. Leave it till it gets suited to your conditions and you can see that it's still growing and being fine, and then repot it, and you'll find you'll have more success that way. Anyhow, that's all I'm going to say about this video, so thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all my subscribers, and if you haven't subscribed, I wish you would do so. And until next time, when I'm going to David's tomorrow, I'll see you later.